This brings me to an interesting conclusion, and that is spectacular failures can be valued more than a mediocre success ever could. Because every single time a show fails to capture the imagination of the audience with their visuals, there's something else that succeeds. For every beautiful disaster, there's a phenomenal success. For every unsuccessful attempt to make an audience wanting more, there's an overwhelming satisfaction of joy. And most importantly, for every carts before the ponies, there's a red line. Oh yeah, now we're talking. To hell with the Fast and the Furious. Shame onto the Flash. Forget Sonic the Hedgehog. Piss on Mario Kart. This is what I'm talking about. Hello there my friends, and welcome to this special edition of Cut and Print, when I am talking about one of the greatest animated movies ever produced, still talking about the concept of speed and the fascination with how it is portrayed. This is Redline. So, what is Redline? Well, Redline tells the fast-paced, hyperkinetic story of, well, the Redline, a galactic illegal racing Grand Prix, which also happens to be the most popular, most dangerous, most batshit insane racing spectacle in the entire galaxy. Now, if the idea of a racing film doesn't really sound like your cup of tea, don't worry. It's not only that. Redline is to racing what Dragon Ball Z is to a calming afternoon doing Tai Chi. This movie is just furious to the point of being almost incomprehensible to exist in the first place. It is that epic. Originally released in 2009 and directed by Takeshi Koike, the guy who also brought us the Animatrix and Lupin the Third, not only that, but had up to 20 years of animation experience at this point in making this, such as being the key animator for Studio Madhouse. So you can easily see from previous films he's made and animated, you can tell how passionate he was for this project. He is a man obsessed with illustrating speed, emotion, and velocity. It is just a beautiful feeling of momentum to the way he moves the characters he portrays, and it's front and center in this film. Out of everything I've ever watched when it comes to racing, there is not a single other film, movie, or episode that I can feel as satisfied as when I'm watching this. The sheer sense of speed and force from the vehicles, almost matched with the reactions from the audience that are caught by the blasts of energy, emphasizes how intense this whole thing is. Seeing them surge through the distant future is unlike anything else. Animation and visuals are constantly being pushed as far as they can go, while showing the exaggerated, intense feeling of speed itself. This alone just conveys the sheer velocity that these vehicles and the drivers are under, assisted of course by some amazing effect animation. Smoke billowing from the environment around them, engines exploding with rocket force velocity, and buildings being torn apart like a nuclear bomb has just been set off. And we are experiencing the backlash of the force behind it. This alone is spectacular, but in most cases when it comes to things like this, things are often sacrificed in return. You can either have a great story told with recognisable and relatable characters, with good development, or you just have a jaw-dropping animated stylised masterpiece. It's extremely rare that you can even remotely get close to having one of these in your production, and almost impossible to have both at the same time. Redline, however, proves my theory wrong. The animation and visuals in this are complemented and held together by some exceptional editing and storyboarding. The film makes a point to make perfectly placed cutaways, constantly jumping to the facial expressions of the drivers, their hands, their feet, as they constantly press buttons, flick switches, slam on the brakes and wrestle against the drag of the steering wheel. before smoothly cutting back to the race itself, showing us the results of all of these little details that prove the driver's high-speed skills in racing. Too much editing can be a bad thing. Too many cutaways can be distracting. Redline manages to stay behind the line in the sand, where they are always safe from either being over-polished or over-saturated. So we have good animation mixed with smooth editing and good storyboarding. What's left to do to make it perfect? The music. The soundtrack alone is nothing short of a devil screaming and an angel singing blended into one to give you something that is just fucking awesome. It can be described as being lively electro rock crossed with upbeat disco, and it perfectly matches the visuals on the screen to the point you want this music to always be played in any racing game or movie made from now on. And, okay, this is going to sound extremely strange saying this, but the music itself is actually gender friendly. What I mean by this is there are parts in the song scores used that help us identify who we are supposed to be focusing on at this moment. Like our main male role has sections of the song which is more bass and electric guitar focused, there to emphasize the thought of motion of his vehicle and the next move he's going to make. And for our main female role, you can almost say that it's an upbeat K-pop rendition of the same song, but made to sound more feminine, but still portraying the intense feeling of the race. Not only that, but it knows when to let the atmosphere and anticipation of the race sink in, and takes away all the sound entirely before quickly snapping back to moments to really convey suspense of the race and the after effects of events. Alright, I've rambled on enough about how exhilarating this movie is, and that alone should be enough for you to go and watch it. However, there are other details I need to cover about it. And to be honest, it's where the movie actually hits home for me. Where the movie has real narrative weight is that everything we are watching and reacting to is exactly the same reactions we receive from our main protagonist in the movie. A racer who goes by the name of Sweet JP. Throughout the entire movie, you get some backstory on why racing means so much to him and how personal it is to him in almost uncomfortably subtle ways in small details. Such things as how laid back JP is when he's not racing, and how alive he can become when he's behind the wheel of his vehicle, the Trans Am, or even the more respectable approach he has when it comes to refusing to put weapons on his vehicle. When taking part in a race which is a mix between Wacky Racers, Mad Max Fury Road, and of course, Death Race. The reason is actually quite respectable in a way. To him, racing is just that. Racing. Pure and simple, he just wants to have fun. Just so happens that he's extremely good at it. It's not often that you get a skilled character that enjoys doing what he does just because he enjoys doing what he does. Not only that, but the voice used for JP really does blend perfectly with how laid back he can be, and then expressive when it's needed. Voiced by none other than Patrick Seitz. Now, with a well-known voice actor like him, his voice does stick out like a sore thumb, but with every character he voices, it just blends in perfectly. He's just flawless.
I'll need 3 caps of nitro for the Redline.
It seems Top has made his decision. Well done.
Robo World, here I come!
That's it. Very good. This is the dawn of a new era for us.
And the same can actually go out for almost all the other characters in the movie that are competing in the race. We don't get a great amount of time with any particular one, but from what little we do get, it makes us understand them as characters themselves, not just cut and paste extras to fill in the extra spaces.
Good evening, racing fans. I'm Machine Head Tetsujin.
We're Lynchman and Johnny Boy, a badass bounty hunters. Gory Rider, you motherfucker!
Heck, they even give parts of the movie before the race for you to experience their humanity and let you understand the importance of this entire event as a whole, like the Super Boeings being magical users that have decided against using magic in the race to make it fair on everybody else. Heck, even their princess aligns themselves the Redline sport itself to help the race take place in the first place. Lynchman and Johnny Boyer being bounty hunters and hired by the racing community to take out a super laser that could potentially destroy the race. Machine Head is an hilarious bioengineered superhuman creation who is the running champion of Redline for over 20 years or so, and is the one to beat, but also has a soft spot for animals. As you can see, he has a little dog. Gory Rider being a short-tempered police officer who has a soft spot for another police officer, and Miki and Todoroki who have a personal hatred for Gory Rider as he once arrested them both. These little moments really do capture the humanity of all of them taking place and lets you know that they have a personal affection to what it means to them. Like JP, they are all in it for the thrill and nothing more. It's basically a racing cast of good sported individuals who like to dick around with one another like you would do with your friends when playing a game of Uno.
Look who it is!
How's it hanging, Tin Man?
Now we're even, you cocksuckers!
You wanna play, Sanashi? Let's get it on!
Now, for all of this talk of sportsmanship and being well-liked characters, I have to address this fact out. And that is, if you technically think about it when watching this movie, you're actually kind of technically rooting for the bad guys. What I mean by this is, this time around, Redline is taking place on a planet known as Robo-World, a militant planet run by an authoritarian dictator, completely opposed to the race taking place on his planet.
Attention, loyal citizens of the M3 Nebula! I will fight to keep Redline from entering our sector! How dare these criminals disturb our galaxy's order with their barbaric and immoral intentions! I will never allow this Redline scum entry into our sacred homeland!
Now, this alone is a justified reason to mobilize your military to hunt down and kill the racers and the defending forces of Redline itself. Essentially turning this into a war movie as Redline invades Robo-World just so a race can happen. However, what Robo-World government doesn't want to tell you is that they are harboring illegal bioweapons that, if discovered, could jeopardize their peace treaty with the galaxy. But hey, as long as only the Redline community sees it, it's alright, right? Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that the race is actually being broadcast across the entire galaxy, effectively revealing everything Robo-World is hiding to everyone at once? Yeah, that's kind of a dick move, Redline. I think what I like the most about this entire setup is that you could essentially split this movie into 3 sections. You have the personal story between JP, Sanashi, and JP's mechanic Frisbee, who is also in deep shit with the Galactic Mafia, who wants to fix the races that JP's takes part in so that they can fuel their own profits. Then you have the Redline itself and what takes place in order for the race to happen in the first place, like the racer's stories, the character moments, and the sabotage seek and destroy missions to help and support the race. And then you have the Robo-World political struggle as they try all that they can to stop a galactic-wide warfare breaking out in the galaxy in response to the actions that take place between Redline and what they find out while racing. All of these moments that take place just create an immense feeling of suspense for when the race really gets started. And when it does, you get this feeling knowing how much is at stake for the racers, Robo-World, and the galaxy itself, making it hard to know who to root for, really. If you couldn't tell already by the visuals I've been projecting on screen here, so much care and work has been put into this movie to give you a finished creation that brings all the characters and all the vehicles they drive to life. From the facial expressions to the movements of the characters, given both the driving and the interactions with everyday life in relation to the up and coming event. You know the reason for this? Because everything you see is hand drawn. Yeah, everything from the expressions to the movements to the designs to the world to the interactions that you see, added in with a few little particle effects. Everything, and I mean everything you see, has been hand drawn. The reason for this was because Koike said, and I quote, "I want absolute control over the kind of marks I'm making." Basically, he wanted to manipulate the lines in very specific ways, so every frame captures the effect of speed in every single shot, frame by frame. You only need to look at the key drawings of Redline's animations to show how passionate he was to emphasize this point. As detailed as the drawings are, the animation never suffers, deviates from the vision he was going for, because it followed exactly to his own specification. Adding into this is the fact that it takes place in a galactical wide universe we are exploring, which means all of the designs of the characters portrayed don't have to adhere to any form in a conventional sense. Every environment you come across in the film is just swarming with unique character designs, making it as detailed as the Star Wars universe for creatures and species. So you don't know what to expect. Now, with all of this praise that I have been given this film, and the 7 years it took making it, the question is there a downside to this movie? Yes. Unfortunately, there is. When this movie first came out in 2009, it wasn't that well received in Japan and didn't even get on the spot of the top 50 animated movies of that year. Which is just crushing to my heart to see that year all the time and effort that was put into this wasn't even that well received in its own country. You know what did make the list though? Yeah, exactly. Redline, unfortunately, is one of the last times that a Japanese animated company would take a shot at making a completely unrelated movie that wasn't connected to a huge franchise. And that's pretty much the other reason I wanted to talk about this film. Because this film needs to get more appraisal for the amount of effort that went into it and how amazing it should have stood out among other animated films out there, not just spamming CGI at us. Heck, a few years ago now, me and a group of my friends, Season the Wecken, The Watchful Pony, EG Studios, Kage the Dragon Hybrid, Totero1324, and my fandom daughters, Summer Sketch and Yui the Dragon, all sat down to watch this 102-minute long splendor. You would have thought I would have just shown them the lost city of Atlantis by their reactions alone. If you ever get the chance to watch it, find a DVD copy of it, or even watch it online, then please, I urge you to do that. You will not be disappointed. And for anime enthusiasts like my sister Rosie Severs, and other friends of mine, this is a movie worth checking out. Thank you all for joining me for this special edition of Cut and Print. I will be turning to my usual processes of making MLP videos soon. But at the same time, if there is ever another animated film or movie I would have a passion for watching and reviewing, then I would of course give it a chance and give my response to how I feel or if I should like it or not. Until next time, my friends, I'm the editor, and Cut, that's a wrap.
Rider, you motherfucker!